Okay. So.
You got what?
Apple News.
I know I can't.
Got it back. They did have it on the internet.
Hey.
That was on by Nimer.
Writing checks.
Every.
I mean.
Yeah, I was sitting there with my wife walking by. Catherine. I said, huh?
Were you in there?
We were sitting down at the table.
Why did you say?
I said, there goes Nate.
Yeah, no, yeah. Go sit there, buddy. Find your seat. You find your seat. There.
Go on,
Okay.
Let's do this.
Ready?
Okay.
All right.
Everybody brings the drug goes on.
10 o'clock, call it to order, make Griffith stop giving coaching in the background here. Yeah, that's prayer, please.
Dear Father, thank you for starting the year of 2024. Please. Sometimes it's harder. It's a harder month than others. And hearts and keep all of us in your vision and guidance.
O'Brien, you handle it.
Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In case of fire or other emergency, please, there are 3 exits in this room, there, and there. In case of said emergency, please proceed to the nearest exit. Go to the nearest stairway, descend the stairway, and leave the building, get as far away from the building as you can, so the rescue squads and emergency squads can do their jobs. If you're in need of assistance in getting out, please contact one of us for assistance. We're more than glad to help you get out safely. Please silence your cell phones during this meeting. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hanky.
Here.
Mrs. Fedler. Mr. Ferguson.
Here.
Mr. Shaw.
Here.
Mr. Hall.
Here.
Mr. Fisher.
Here.
Mr. Baker.
Here.
Mr. Nolan.
Here.
Mr. O'Brien.
Here.
Mr. Hahn. Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Mr. Skelly.
Here.
Mr. Hogan.
Here.
Mr. Wilson. Mrs. Clary. Mr. Wang.
Here.
Mr. Rosell.
Here.
The hearings aren't due to start till 10:05, so let's switch down to condensed minutes. You have the condensed minutes from the December 15th, 2023 and January 2nd, 2024 meetings. I'll consider them accepted as mailed unless there's any corrections or deletions. Are there any corrections or deletions? Hearing none. Communications.
For communications, Senator Steck acknowledged receipt of our resolution number 349, a resolution supporting Senate Bill S 7645 that repeals certain provisions of the executive law, establishing a fee for background checks on certain firearms and ammunition purchases. And number 350, a resolution supporting Empire State Development's ESD's designation of a cellular-specific point person to lead the state's efforts on enhancing cellular coverage and further encouraging the state to implement a unified strategy to assure every major road corridor has reliable cell coverage as recommended by ESD's Upstate Cellular Coverage Task Force final report. We're also in receipt of Warren County's resolution number 616 of 2023, authorizing payments to SUNY Adirondack. That's all I have for correspondence.
Thank you. Anybody else have any other correspondence to add? Hearing none. It's 10:05, and we'll proceed with our public hearings. The clerk will read the notice for the first one.
Washington County Board of Supervisors notice of public hearing on parcels requesting inclusion in certified agricultural districts pursuant to Chapter 523 of the laws of 2003. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the County of Board of Supervisors of Washington County, State of New York, at Washington County Office Building B in the town of Fort Edward on the 19th day of January 2024 at 10:05 a.m. on said day to consider approving the following parcels requesting inclusion in certified agricultural districts pursuant to Chapter 523 of the laws of 2023. There are two parcels, Raymond and Michelle Morgan, 0.29 acres in the town of Hartford going into Consolidated Ag District 7, and Brandon and Lance Nichols in the 1.47 acres in Whitehall going into Consolidated Ag District 1.
Thank you. I will now declare the public hearing open at 10:06. Any public comment on these parcels wanting to be included in the Ag District? Anyone wish to speak on the inclusion in certified ag districts? Is there anyone that wishes to be heard at this public hearing? Having called 3 times for public comment and heard none, I will declare this public hearing closed at 10:06.
Washington County Board of Supervisors notice of public hearing on agricultural district 8-year review, Consolidated Ag District Number 8. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the County Board of Supervisors of Washington County, State of New York, at Washington County Office Building B in the town of Fort Edward on the 19th day of January 2024 at 10:05 a.m. on said day upon the agricultural district within the towns of Granville, Greenwich, Hartford, Hebron, and Salem, known as Consolidated Agricultural District Number 8. To consider the recommendations of the Agriculture and Farmland Protection Board and any proposed modification of the district.
Thank you. I'll declare this public hearing open, excuse me, at 10:07. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to comment at this public hearing on Consolidated Ag District 8? Anyone who wishes to be heard at this public hearing? Is there any public comment on Consolidated Ag District Number 8? Having called 3 times for public comment and heard none, I'll declare this public hearing closed at 10:07.
Public hearing concerning introductory local law I of 2023. The Board of Supervisors of Washington County will hold a public hearing in the Supervisors Chambers, County Office Building B, Fort Edward, New York, on the 19th day of January 2024 at 10:05 a.m. to consider the adoption of proposed introductory local law I of 2023, a local law amending local law number 2 of 2014, providing for the exemption from taxation of real property owned by one or more persons with disabilities.
Thank you. Consider this public hearing on local law I of 2023 be open at 10:08. Is there any public comment on local law I? Anyone in the audience wish to comment on this local law? Any member public want to be heard on local law I of 2023? Have called for public comment 3 times and heard none. I will declare this public hearing closed at 10:08.
Public hearing concerning amending the scale for the real property exemption for persons 65 years of age or older. The Board of Supervisors of Washington County will hold a public hearing in the Supervisors Chambers, County Office Building B, Fort Edward, New York, on the 19th day of January 2024 at 10:05 a.m. to consider the proposal that property owned by persons 65 years of age or older be exempted from taxation by the County of Washington pursuant to the following schedule, which was duly published.
Thank you. I'll declare this public hearing open at 10:09. And wish to be heard on the changing the exemption status for persons 65 years of age and older. Anyone wish to comment on the tax exemption for persons 65 years and older? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this public hearing? Having called for public comment 3 times and heard none, I will declare this public hearing closed at 10:09. Thank you. Committee reports, Audit Committee.
Chairman, I'd like to move audit report to the full board for payment of $4,927,927.52.
Moved by Supervisor Rozell. Is there a second? Ferguson, Paul, Brian, Hahn, Clary, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Supervisor's privilege of the floor. Anyone wish privilege? I have one, Merle.
I'll try to keep it to the 2 minutes. When Benjamin Franklin was asked after a session of the Constitutional Convention, what kind of government have you given us? He replied, a democracy if you can keep it. The FM was convicted of insurrection by the House of Representatives. You all have taken an oath of office. I have a copy here to put in the record. It says, I duly, solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States. The 14th Amendment, Section 3, states part that those who shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid, I repeat, given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. Paraphrase. No person shall be a member of any state legislature or an executive or judicial officer of any state. So what does that mean? Any of you in this room, who, including you, have contributed aid in any form to the FM cannot hold office in this building. You need to resign right now. You are ineligible to hold any state office. Thank you. P.S. Why is a billionaire asking you for working slobs for money? Thank you. Did I keep it under the time?
You got 44 seconds if you want to keep going. You got 44 seconds if you want to keep going.
I have talked to you about that issue, correct?
Correct.
I have also asked you to talk to Johnny Graham. Have you done that? Okay, but you consider it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other privilege of the floor? What town? County in.
Locating, Glens Falls. I'm not from, I work in,
All right, I'll give you a privilege of the floor. Come on up. Do it under me. Speak into the mic, the rules are 5 minutes. And identify yourself.
My name is Christopher Bradley. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist for the Clear the Air in the Southern Adirondacks program of the Adirondack Health Institute located in Glens Falls. We cover Warren, Washington, and Saratoga counties. Today, I'm here as a representative of the Warren, Washington Topics on Tobacco Coalition. This is a coalition consisting of public health professionals, healthcare providers, school personnel, and community-based organizations convening to address the issue of tobacco and e-cigarette use and marketing in Warren and Washington counties. We've recently, over the last couple of years, we've been providing outreach to municipal leaders across Warren and Washington counties, summarizing information on disparate impacts of tobacco and what it's having on our local community. We know the following. In 2021, the adult smoking rate for Warren County was 21.3%, an 11.5% increase since 2018. In 2021, the adult smoking rate for Washington County was 22.7%. This is the 5th highest in all of New York State. In 2021, the New York State adult smoking rate was only 12%. The New York Youth Tobacco Survey indicates that tobacco product use among high school students was 20.8% in 2022. And in 2022, the New York State Youth Tobacco Survey indicates e-cigarette use among high school youth was 18.7%. That's one use of a product within the last 30 days, self-identified by those youth. Coalition members continue to observe and receive communication from their community members on the remarkable use of e-cigarettes among their youth in their communities and within their schools. Without a local policy in place, people can smoke, vape, and use non-combustible tobacco and cannabis products on all municipal property not affected by New York State public health law. We know that local and neighboring municipalities have mobilized to implement comprehensive public health policy to protect their property, schools, families, and public spaces from the harms of secondhand smoke exposure and litter. I'm going to be following up later with an email from the coalition members encouraging you to review the documents that we have that outline recent changes in New York State tobacco control laws, the purpose of our coalition, and available resources we have to provide to you. And if you have any other questions regarding the information provided today or would like to connect with our coalition to address the issue of tobacco in our communities, do not hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you very much.
You had a privilege. Hearing none, we'll move on to the introduction of resolutions. We have no need to set aside the rules for any of them this time. They were all publicized at a time, and I don't believe we have any need for a resource, so let's move on to consideration of the resolutions.
Resolution number 14 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Ferguson, title set per diem and mileage rates for Washington County Soil and Water Conservation District.
Chairman, moving resolution number 14.
Supervisor Campbell, there's a second. Fedler, Ferguson, Shaw, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Skelly, Larry, Wang, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 15 by Supervisor Hanky, title Supervisors appointed to the Soil and Water Conservation District Board.
Resolution 15, is there a second? Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Campbell, Larry, Wang, Roselle, and Noland. Discussion. And for the new members, it's not that I don't remember your name. I'm going it very slow and deliberately because Debbie's checking them off as we go here. It's not that I'm, not remembering your names. Okay. Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 16 by Supervisor Hanky, title appoint members of the Intercounty Legislative Committee of the Adirondack.
16, there's a second. Fedler, Ferguson, Shaw, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Hahn, Clary, Wang, Roselle, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 17 by Supervisor Hanky, title appointment to the Adirondack Park Local Government Review Board.
Moving 17, is there a second? Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Clary, Wang, Roselle, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 18 by Supervisor Hanky, title appoint sportsman representatives to the Fish and Wildlife Management Board.
Moving 18, is there a second? Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Clary, Wang, Roselle, and Noland. Once again, for our new members, these are essentially chairman's appointments, but we have traditionally run them through the board to get board approval, just because, we don't feel it. Chairman ought to be God here. That's why we run them through as resolutions. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 19 by Supervisor Hanky, title appoint supervisors to the Fish and Wildlife Management Board.
Kane, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Campbell, Skelly, Larry, Wang, Roselle, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 20 by Supervisor Hanky, title appoint landowner representatives to the Fish and Wildlife Management Board.
20, there's second. Fedler, Ferguson, Shaw, Hall, Fisher, Baker, Hahn, Campbell, Larry, Wang, Roselle, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 21 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Ferguson, title approved parcels requesting inclusion in certified agricultural districts pursuant to chapter 523 of the laws of 2003.
Moving 21.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, is there a second? Fedler, Ferguson, Shaw, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Larry, Wang, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 22 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Ferguson, title to reaffirm Consolidated Agricultural District Number 8.
Moving resolution 22.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Shaw, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Larry, Wang, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 23 by Supervisors Hall, Shaw, Campbell, Fedler, Skelly, Wilson, Nolan, title to amend the title by grade schedule to add county historian.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 23.
Moved by Supervisor Hall, is there a second? Fedler, Ferguson, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Larry, Wang, and Noland. Discussion. This is a roll call.
Mr. Hanky,
Yes.
Mrs. Fedler. Mr. Ferguson,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw, Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Hahn,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Skelly,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan, Mrs. Clary,
Yes.
Mr. Wang, Mr. Rozell.
Yes.
Resolution is adopted, 4,643 yes and 47 absent. Resolution number 24 by Supervisors Campbell, Fedler, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, title to write off taxes, Town of Jackson.
Moving resolution number 24.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, is there a second? Fedler, Ferguson, Shaw, Hall, Fisher, Skelly, Clary, Wang, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 25 by Supervisors Campbell, Fedler, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, title to cancel interest and penalties and write off county taxes, Town of Jackson.
Moving resolution number 25.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Shaw, Hall, Fisher, Baker, Skelly, Clary, Wang, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 26 by Supervisors Campbell, Fedler, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, title to provide for tax exemptions for persons 65 years of age and over.
Moving resolution number 26.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Larry, Wang, and Noland. Discussion. Mr. Shaw.
Mr. Chairman, I just think this needs a little discussion. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, but my concern is this is an aging. A lot of us fall in it as far as age bracket goes. And I read an article the other day, and it was on, we were always called the baby boomers, but now the new title is the number of senior citizens that are gonna hit our society or have started to hit it. And the impact it's gonna have economically on it with all these senior citizens. Where does this stop? Because we're not doing away with taxes. We're transferring it to the younger people or the higher income people, which could be both. And I'm just concerned where it's going to take us. And I'm very cautious about doing something so rapidly. I know it went through committee and I sat on the committee. The impact it's going to have down the road, I guess, is what I'm concerned about. Now, what's the shift in taxes with this new one? Cassie did a quick calculation. She thought it was in the $50,000 range that we're going to be shifting. But right, and originally was how much? So that's the amount of money that we're shifting. And I'm just concerned about it, not opposed to it, but I just thought there ought to be a little dialogue on that. So people are aware of what we're doing, if this is the right thing to do, I guess, would be my concern. Maybe nobody else has a concern or comment on it. Just wanted to share my thoughts on it.
Take some thoughtfulness because a lot of these things do seem very apple pie-ish until you get figuring out who actually pays the taxes. And I agree.
I believe that the income levels that are proposed on this are pretty low. I mean, if you're in a household that's $30,000, you need that kind of relief for taxes, or people are just going to move out of Washington County. And I think that's what we should do for people that have gone ahead of us.
Yes, I think you hit what we brought up in the committee. Basically, it was in the spirit of the way things have changed and the inflation rate. We were trying to just keep up with inflation for the people that are living on Social Security, because that's where these numbers are, is down to Social Security level. So people I'm trying to keep from putting them out of their house and on other government programs. So the whole idea was if we could shift it a little bit. The problem is there's no correct way to get the number, because we're looking at the numbers of the people that are already in, but as you raise it, there's more people that have the opportunity to join. So yes, we are a very aged community and we're not getting younger by any means. It seems like it goes up a year every year on the average, and that shouldn't be, but that's about where we're at. So this was a quick blush to do a little something to make up for that 10% increase of inflation that we were trying to offset for the people on fixed incomes, rather than have them here at the tax foreclosure sale. We thought it was best to do something to offset that to where maybe they could still keep up. And I think that's what the whole discussion was about. I would have liked more numbers and better numbers. This was the best we could do in the time frame we had. I don't know that it's enough to do what we're trying to accomplish, but we need to see the effect of what this is before we can get an idea of what more would actually look like.
My comments really are echoed by the previous two supervisors. First of all, when you look at these income levels, they're extremely low. And secondly, as was just said, inflation each year has gone up and up and up. So the cost of goods, especially goods that these people absolutely have to have, like food and things, are going up as well. So I think this is, well,
Larry.
Realize that, it could be a single person that only has one social security check. That's right. Healthcare to look out for themselves as they age. Least we can do. I know it's a lot of money, but we tend to spend things in different ways where it's a $56,000 and help our older taxpayers that have been here for years and years and years.
We're not losing money, just being put a bigger burden.
You're pinning your hopes on the guy that just on the record said everybody gets a year older every year.
Hey.
He's got support. He's got support.
Go first, right? All right, so you go. I'm sorry.
I don't know, as we were opposed to it, we wanted to see what the numbers were, and it was just quick figures to look and see what the difference was. We just wanted that brought up for conversation. The chart we were given, it looks like it's hard to compare real easy. But I think it's like $1,800 was in the disabled part and approximately 50,000. That's quick numbers and an estimate, because Dan asked me to look at it earlier, and I'm, okay, let's try and add it without a calculator type deal. But just so that we were aware, that was the biggest part.
No. Hogan. Somebody know O'Brien.
The important point is that this really is a shift. We're shifting the burden over to other residents who may not meet this margin. But look at the state maximum, this is state maximum.
Closer to your mic, Dave. You gotta get closer to your mic.
Everybody needs to get closer to your mic, because if it's not red, she can't hear you. It isn't going on the recording.
I guess first and foremost, I don't consider it a burden to take care of those people that are less fortunate we are, have disabilities or whatever the situation may be. You know, that was provided, they've laid a good groundwork for us to work with, and I certainly understand there's a shift. But it's easier in the job market today if a younger family needs additional money, that there's jobs that are available out there. Look at the number of seniors that are now working that you see around, so they can just try to make ends meet. And that it's a wrong thing to do. I think it's the right thing to do. I think we need to take care of our aged and our elderly. Many of us in this room that are aged, we have the ability to still work, to still do those kind of things. But there are many of the seniors that are not that fortunate, that may have had retirement programs there at one point in time with businesses that have gone out of business. And they lost their, like General Electric and some of the other places that they have lost it. So I think this is the appropriate thing to do. I think that with what we have in front of us now, this gives us a thing to move forward on. And we can always take a look at changing it as we get more accurate figures, Brian, down the road. But I think it's a thing that we should be doing. I think it's the right way to go.
Thanks for confusing me. The way this works for you know, guys, everybody gets a chance to speak. If we come back to you a second time, everybody that wants to speak the first time has to get to speak first, and then I come back to you in that order. So I got to maintain in this tiny pea brain. What order do you think? You spoke once. I believe anybody new? There's nobody new, so it goes back to Mr. Shaw.
Yes, I've accomplished what I wanted to do, was to create this dialogue and make everybody aware of what we're doing. And I feel a lot better now that we had this talk. And I was never, ever opposed to doing. I just felt the minute you shift tax burden from one group of citizens in our county to another group, we need to really take a hard look at it, and we did. So I'm very pleased.
My question is probably for Supervisor Campbell. Calculation on how this would affect, oh, I'm sorry.
You put it up.
Is there any calculations on how this would affect the individual taxpayer? Like,
Chip, this $56,000 is Cassie. You know, we don't know. That's just off the ones that are currently enrolled. So as they raise it, there's a few more qualified, so we can't have an actual accurate number. It was the best we could.
Butler.
I want to make sure that none of the press or anything thinks that we're against this. It was just unfortunate due to change in personnel and whatever. We weren't able to have all those figures when we discussed it in committee. So before we vote on it, the discussion is here today. Nobody's generally opposed to it. This is just the timing ended up with the longer discussion in the meeting. I don't believe anybody's opposed to it. So if you want me to call the question, I will.
We're doing fine. O'Brien.
Just one note on timing, we have to do this now because it has to be in place by March 1st for the next tax year. So that's one.
Is there further discussion? This one is roll call. Okay, all those in favor?
I
Opposed? Carried.
That was a good roll call.
Resolution number 27 by Supervisors Campbell, Fedler, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Rosedale, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, titled to adopt introductory local law I of 2023.
Moving resolution 27.
By Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler. Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Han, Clary, Wang, Roselle, and Nolan. Discussion. All in favor. You guys mind if I roll call this one? Roll call, please.
Local law. Mr. Hanky,
Yes.
Mrs. Fedler,
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Han, Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Skelly, Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
Mrs. Clary,
Yes.
Mr. Wang, Mr. Rozell.
Yes.
Resolution is adopted, 4,643 yes and 47 absent. Resolution number 28 by Supervisor Hanky, title appoint members to the counties of Warren and Washington Industrial Development Agency and Civic Development Corporation.
Moving resolution 28, is there a second? Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Fisher, Han, Clary, Wang, and Nolan. Discussion. Mr. Shaw.
Names here, I don't recognize all the names. Is that the top half is Washington County and the bottom half is Warren? Okay.
I had to run through it in my mind here, but yes, that's correct. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Abstain. I abstain.
One abstention. Now it's time for supervisors' comments, but we're not going to do that. I'm going to ask our county attorney to.
Just a very quick reminder, if you have not filed your oath of office yet with your town clerk, please do so before the end of the month or you will be out of a job.
Hey, supervisors' comments. Larry.
The town of Salem lost two incredible, men over the last few weeks. Living, proof of what you can do for your communities and the care and love they gave to their town and surrounding areas has been would be a huge loss. It is Tano Workey. I don't know if he was a Vietnam pilot. And he did our flyovers, of our parades that I tried not to watch because they were incredible. He'd bring 5 different planes and they'd come right down Main Street. He did it during COVID and people were out in the street because we couldn't have a parade or gatherings, but we still had the flyover and people were in the streets crying over his performance, either out of fear or out of joy. I'm not sure which, you know? And then Sak Fraunhofer, who was a quiet man, loved to strategize in the art of arm wrestling. He was an international champion, and he would touch hard because in any event, he would be challenging people to arm wrestling, not knowing what he was capable of doing. And he loved. Wonderful, wonderful men. We'll celebrate their lives this weekend. Huge, huge loss for our community, but what a gift they both gave to so many of us. So, Donald Workey, at Fraunhofer, we're thinking about their families and their.
Yes, I just wanted to mention, Mr. Chairman, the fact that for those that may or may not have heard the news yesterday, that the Environmental Correction Facility has a hit list of closure place that the governor is put on her hit list to reduce here. And I know that the chairman is already working on it along with Laura Oswald, but I think it behooves all of us to reach out to our state legislatures and any other individuals that we can reach out to, because this would be a detrimental impact to the whole county, not just to the town of Fort Anne. We saw sales tax revenue go up. We could very well see that go down. We could have massive locating, which will put more homes on the market, possibility of tax. So this is it's a catastrophe that we need to try to avoid if we can at all do that. And we all know how to make up biz down the state assembly, and we know that one of the lady that's on that committee does not like upstate New York anyways. Logical. One of the things you're trying to make a logical statement on is that it makes sense to put inmates in an area where families can visit them sooner. Corrective officers all over the state, they're not going to be around their families. So something we need to get on top of sooner or later. I know the chairman's already probably. We as individual towns need to know that it's going to have an impact, a negative impact on all of us in one way or another. So.
I believe they may be the largest employer in Washington County by quite a mark. Other comments? Mr. Wang.
Just speaking as what passes for a fresh face around here now, being new, I just want to thank all the support staff we have here for extremely smooth onboarding. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Hahn.
Supervisor Lang's statement and thank the building maintenance guys and Matt Jones for updating my chair.
They did it years ago. Their predecessor just didn't use it.
Yeah.
It's like brand new.
That's good. Further comments? Okay, I've got a couple. We constructed a skating rink in Argyle out on the youth field. First time we've had a town skating rink in the past about 40 years. I think the last time we had one. A couple of us went out on an incredibly freezing day and built the thing. And the fire company has helped fill it up, and the elements helped fill it up. And we were spraying water on it again last night, freezing, and it looks like we might actually be able to skate on the darn thing here in a couple of days. So I appreciate the effort of the volunteers and the fire company that went into doing that. And I wanted to mention the incredible response our emergency services people made over in Argyle. We had a really horrific dog attack. a mastiff tore up this 22-year-old young lady. Just tore up inside the house, and then it broke back into the house and tore her up some more. When they arrived there, they couldn't even shoot the dog because it was on top of her, and they tased it. And she lost so much blood that they had tourniquets in 3 places. Our deputies actually rode in the ambulance. They couldn't wait for ALS. They just boogied for the hospital, calling for transfusions. So thank you for the people that have donated in the past little while. But that was a really supreme effort by not only our deputies, but our Argyle Emergency Squad, and I want to really appreciate that. It did save the young lady's life. She did survive. She's not in real great shape yet, but they did save her. So it was a really extreme effort, and those deputies and those EMTs really deserve a lot of credit for that. Any other comment? Okay, if we could.
By order, Chairman of the Washington County Board of Supervisors, Robert Hinkie, I declare this meeting adjourned. And stand adjourned until February 16th at 10 a.m. We will next convene, unless we have an emergency convention, in which case do timely notice.
Adjourned 10:47.